Hey, what's up? Today I want to share and make a video why I'm deciding to delete my Instagram account, my Threads account, and also my Twitter X accounts, and why I'm switching to Mastodon and Pixelfed instead. And so if you're trying to avoid large social media corporations like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and X, or if you're considering decentralized social media like Mastodon or Pixelfed, or if you're wondering about the current state of the internet, especially for social media, then this could be for you. That being said, I am not going to talk about advanced topics like the Fediverse or ActivityPub. Maybe that's going to be for another video. And before we start the video, I just wanted to say that I studied computer science at university, and I'm also currently an online entrepreneur, and so I make most of my money using the internet. And so I want to say this because these topics are topics that I actually take very seriously, okay? And so let's go right in. Alright, so the first point that I wanted to talk about is my own usage and my own experiences with traditional social media. And as of right now, I don't consider myself an influencer in any way, but I do use social media from time to time. And as of right now, I'm also considering growing my own online presence. And so since I'm an online entrepreneur, social media also plays a huge role. And so let's first start with Threads, okay? And to be completely honest, I don't use Threads. I know that it released probably like a year ago or something. And I created an account because I was kind of pushed to do it. I mean, I'm using Instagram and I'm also using Facebook. And so since Thread is under the same company, then I was kind of pushed to do it, but I generally don't care about it. I have an account here and I have a bunch of I have 7 followers, and I don't know, I don't use this social media. I don't really care about it, okay? So that's it. So the second social media that I want to talk about is Instagram. And I mostly use Instagram for chatting and also for DMs, but I don't seriously follow anyone. I mean, yes, I follow a few people. I mean, you can see here I have 70 following and also 70 followers, but I don't take it really seriously. I mostly use Instagram for chatting with people, and from time to time, I might also check, like I might scroll a little bit, and I might check some reels or some short videos or whatever, but it's not that seriously. And so again, I mostly use Instagram for chatting and for DMs. Now, the next social media that I wanted to talk about is Twitter, or recently it got renamed to X. And this one is quite interesting, I think. And I use X and Twitter much more than Instagram and any other social media. And I usually use it when I basically have nothing to do or have some free time. And so I usually end up scrolling, and I just think that this social media is kind of chaotic and there's always things happening, and because of that, I think that it's quite interesting, and it's just, to be honest, it's just chaos and it's quite entertaining. But as of right now, I have like 300 followers or whatever, and I follow a bunch of people as well. And I mean, most of these followers are probably bots anyway, so that's kind of what it is. So in the end, all these social media, I mean, I'm not deeply invested in these social media, and so by deleting these social media, I don't have much to lose. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, the second point that I wanted to talk about is data collection and ads. And we all know that large corporations like Meta, X, Uber, Amazon, Google, all these large companies, they all collect vast amount of user data. And most of the time they use all this data to sell advertising or to train their own AI. Now, I understand that when you're using the internet, you obviously need to share data. It's just part of what it is. And personally, I don't mind to give the necessary data as long as it's not too exaggerated. But if I have the option to not give anything, or if I have the option to give the less possible, then I think that it's preferable. That being said, I won't go out of my way to be completely private because I don't think it's realistic. If you're going to use the internet, you have to realize and you have to keep in mind that everything that you do on the internet is public in a way. And so here I simply wanted to illustrate the data collection from different apps. And so here we can see Facebook Messenger here that collects all this data from the app and from Facebook or whatever. And then there's WhatsApp here that collects a little bit less data, but still a lot of data. And then iMessage, I think it's Apple, and then Signal here doesn't collect anything. And Signal here is a free and open source app that is perfect for privacy. And so that's kind of what it is. You see, like, what I want to illustrate here is that Facebook here collects a lot of data. Now I have to say that I strongly dislike and I don't like advertising. And personally, I spend a lot of time on the computer and also on the internet, and I just can't stand advertising, both in my browser, both in my computer or whatever. I just don't want to see it. And sometimes these companies, they will tell you that, oh, it is targeted ads, so you know what you see is actually things that you want to see. But to be honest, I generally don't want any ads, and I generally think that it is creepy, like knowing that I might search for something on the internet, and then something that I search on Facebook is going to pop off on Facebook or whatever. I just think it's creepy and makes me feel uncomfortable. So I don't like ads and I don't want to deal with it. I just think it's a bad experience. Now, the reason Mastodon and Pixelfed are very attractive is because they are non-profits. So this means that they don't really care about your data because they will not sell anything. And so that basically means that when you use these services, you won't see any ads and they will only take the necessary data. And so that being said, you cannot entirely escape data collection. And so what I mean by that is that the administrator or the owner of the instance or the server might have access to all the necessary data, and they might have access to some data like your IP address and all of these things. But you have to keep in mind that these things are kind of like, it's not optional, it's kind of normal. And so the only thing is that I would recommend that if you join a Mastodon server or Pixelfed server, I would recommend that you actually trust the server that you're joining, because again, you'll be giving to the administrator all this data, and the administrator and the owner is going to be in control of all these things. But again, if you're not happy with this trade-off here, what you can do is simply create your own instance for Pixelfed and Mastodon, and then it's no longer a problem because then you'll own everything and you won't have any ads. The third point that I want to talk about is centralization and algorithm. And so one of the main issue with centralized corporation is that they're in control of everything. And so the users that use the service don't really have anything to say. They simply have to follow the rules that decentralization decides, and that's basically what it is. And so that means that when there's a centralized platform, it is decentralization that chooses all the content moderation, the bans, the regulation, the policies, and also the algorithm. And so, for example, here I have a diagram here that shows a centralization system here. And so in the middle, that's where we would see like X or Instagram or Facebook. And then, as you can see, it's in the middle. And then all the other around, they don't really have anything to say because they all depend on decentralization. And so, for example, one thing that I don't like about X is that they allow pretty much everything on the platforms in the name of free speech. And so that also includes pornographic posts. And so yes, I respect the value of free speech, but not everybody might agree with it. And so if you don't like pornography and you still want to use the platform, then you're kind of stuck with it. Another thing that you have to keep in mind is that you're also at the mercy of hidden algorithm that might influence everything that you see or might not see. And so the goal of these centralized social media is usually to keep you as long as possible on the platform by showing you the content that you will watch and that you're interested in. And so because of that, they are using some sort of hidden algorithm that you don't necessarily see, but that basically controls everything that you see or that you don't see. Maybe there's something that they don't want you to see, and so they don't show you some sort of content. So you kind of have to keep that in mind. And so usually you don't really realize these things, and the code of these algorithms are probably under very high security that like nobody really have access to. And so here the purpose of Mastodon and Pixelfed is to be free, open source, and decentralized by creating independent instances with their own values and with their own rules. And so, for example, here, when we have a decentralized platform, it kind of looks like this. And each platform is quite independent from all the other ones, and every platform and every instance has its own values, has its own rules. And so you see this instance here could completely be different from this one here, and this one here could also be completely different than this one here. And so the idea with this, the ultimate goal with Mastodon and Pixelfed is that you create your very own social media, and you create your very own instance and server with your own rules and with their own values that you want to choose. And also, there are no algorithm that might influence the things that you see or might not see. And so ultimately, since there's no algorithm, everything that you see is actually what you get. And with all these things, that basically means that all the users are actually in power and in control of everything that they want to see and they don't want to see, because each user can decide in which instance they're in, and they can choose also which content they want to see and which content they don't want to see. And so since every instance and every individual is actually in control of what they want to see, then they're not at the mercy of some corporation or of some sort of centralization that is in control of everything. Now, the fourth point that I wanted to talk about is subscription and verification. And I understand the benefits of subscription and verification. And so, for example, a subscription allows a business and a group to make money, and the verification make sure that the account that you're using or that you're saying is authentic from the right person. But that leads to a bunch of problems. And so first of all, the fact that these services offer a subscription is already messed up. And so here, X, you have like the upgrade here to premium or different tiers or whatever. And Meta here, there's also Meta Verified, where you have to pay also a monthly subscription here. And the fact that they offer the subscription is already completely messed up. The reason why is because they're already making money from the data they collect from you and that they're reselling to all this advertisement. And so that means that they take all your data and they sell all this data, but you also have to pay a monthly subscription as well. And so I think that it is completely not good. It is not good because you're kind of getting fucked two ways. Another thing that you have to keep in mind is that when you create a premium service like this, you basically create a separation between the people that pay for the service and the people that don't pay for the service. And you also hide some features behind the paywall. And so, for example, if you're not paying that subscription, then you're probably not getting prioritized in the algorithm. And so in some video games, and so if you're playing video games, we usually call these systems pay to win, and it's really not a good business model. And also having the blue tick, as they call it, or the Meta Verified or whatever, is seen as something that is superior and gives some sort of status, but in actuality it doesn't really mean anything, because everybody can have access to it. And when everybody can have access to it, then it really doesn't mean anything because everybody has it. It's like by making everybody special, in reality, nobody is really special. And so the fact that you have a blue tick, the only thing that it really means is that you're wasting money every month on a subscription that you don't really need. And so Mastodon and Pixelfed are both nonprofits, and so that basically means that they are not limited by the structure and the interests over conventional corporation. And so their purpose as a nonprofit is to actually work for the people and to actually do the right thing instead of working always for money. And the process of verification, yes, there's still a process of verification, and it's a little bit different. And so what you have to do to verify your account is that you have to add a small line of code on your website. And so it's not related to some sort of government ID or whatever, it's related to the website. And also for both of these platforms, you don't have any blue tick, you don't have any like verification proof or anything. So it's actually for everybody. Now the fifth point that I wanted to talk about is YouTube and Facebook. And those are two social media that I haven't talked too much about. And that's because as of right now, I don't see myself not using these two platforms, but maybe again, the future that might change. And so I'm going to speak for myself here, but I've been using Facebook since pretty much like I'm 12 years old. So I think Facebook was the first social media that was actually serious to come out. And since it is the first one, all my real friends and all my family are using Facebook. And so I feel like when I'm using Facebook and when I'm befriending people on Facebook, I actually think that on Facebook, it's actually a huge thing. Like befriending someone on Facebook, I actually think it's a huge thing. And so if, for example, I don't personally know you enough, then I don't want you on my Facebook friends. But you see, in other social media, I have this feeling that it's much more impersonal. So on X, on Instagram, and all these other platforms, I mean, you can follow and you can unfollow anybody without much trouble because you just follow people on the internet or whatever. But all these things don't really apply with Facebook because Facebook, I actually use it for kind of close people in my life and in real life. And since I'm using Facebook a lot, I'm also very much using Facebook Messenger because of that, because I want to chat with my family and because I want to chat with my friends. And so another thing that I use as well is the Facebook Marketplace to sell things in my city, or I might be buying things also in my city as of right now. And so for me personally, I don't see any alternatives to that, or I don't see any replacement to these things. And so as of right now, I use Facebook quite a lot. And so yes, Facebook, I know that collects a lot of data, and I would appreciate if it could limit the data collection. But as of right now, I don't see myself not using Facebook. And in the same optic, I've been using YouTube for many years now, and probably like just like Facebook, I started using YouTube since pretty much I'm 12 years old. And so the generations before me, like my parents and my grandparents, they were all watching TV. And so in my case, and I feel like just my own generation in general, we're using the internet. And so because of that, we're much more using YouTube, and we're much more using the social media because the internet appeared around that time. And so in my case, I really never owned a TV, and I mean, yes, sometimes I might subscribe to Netflix, but I don't really care that much about Netflix and Crave and all these Prime videos or whatever. I mean, most of my content and most of the things that I consume is from YouTube because there's so much content there, right? And so far, I think that YouTube will still exist for a while now. And yes, there are also decentralized, free and open source decentralized alternatives like PeerTube. But as of right now, I think that it is quite still very far from people from hosting their own videos, because video storage and video sharing and streaming is much more expensive than just microblogging or maybe some images or whatever. And so yes, PeerTube exists, but as of right now, I don't really see it really happening like that soon. And so before we see PeerTube happening, I think we will most likely see Mastodon and Pixelfed happening. So that basically leads me to my sixth point, which is how I see the future. And I think that as technology advances and people become more and more tech savvy, I think that everybody is going to have their own personal server, if that makes sense. And to be completely clear, I don't think that the internet is going to be entirely decentralized, but I do think that it will decentralize a little bit, because as of right now, I think that large corporations like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, X, and all these tech companies, they control most, if not all, of the technology and the internet space. And to basically solve that, I think that most people should think about building their own personal servers at home. And by doing that, the people will gain their own power, instead of being at the mercy of these corporations. And so for now, I think that having personal servers at home is the solution, but maybe at some point we're going to be able to do this with our phones. Like maybe we'll be able to host everything with our phones, or maybe we'll be able to host everything with our brain, some sort of brain chip or whatever that we can bring anywhere. I don't know, I'm just making a hypothesis right now. But ultimately, I think that the ultimate goal is to be in control of our own data by owning and by hosting our own cloud storage, our own websites, our own social media, or any online services. And by doing that, we're also fighting advertisement and algorithms that are completely hidden from us and that are probably working against us instead of for us. And so in conclusion, I decided that I'm going to delete my Instagram, my Thread account, and my X account, because I don't really like the direction that they're taking here. And so in my case, I don't have much to lose because my social media are still quite small. And so instead, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be using Mastodon and Pixelfed, which are free, open source, and decentralized. And that being said, before deleting my accounts, I will make sure that I will check if I can transfer all my data to these alternatives. And so X, I'm going to make sure that I can transfer the data to Mastodon if it's that possible. And Instagram, I'm going to make sure, I'm going to check if I can transfer my data from Instagram to Pixelfed. That being said, I think that more and more people will be needed to host these decentralized instances. And as of right now, yes, we can go on Pixelfed and we can go on Mastodon, but it seems a little bit hard to host our own personal servers or whatever, because it requires some sort of technical IT skills to put everything in place and to do the maintenance of these things. And so in my case, I have a background in computer science and I'm also an entrepreneur, so that's definitely something that I could learn and that I could see how it works, and I could also present it to the public so that other people can also do it. And so from here, I think that my goal is going to create my own server where I'm going to host everything myself. And so ultimately, I think that I will create my own server where I will host my own Nextcloud storage, I will host my own websites, and I will host my own social media like Pixelfed, Mastodon, and all these things, and anything that could potentially be with the Fediverse. And so from now on, if you want to follow me, please do so on Mastodon and on Pixelfed, because from now on, that's where I'm going to be from now on. And in the next days or so, I'm probably going to delete my traditional social media accounts. And so that's pretty much it for this video. And I hope that this video was valuable to you. And if this video was valuable to you, you could consider liking my video and subscribing subscribing to my channel. And if you have any thoughts or comments, you can leave them below because I will answer everything. And your thoughts and comments could also be valuable to other people. So that's it for this video, okay? Peace.